We are back. This is the Dimes and Buckets podcast, and we are talking NBA trades, NBA in general, and the All-Star game coming up. So let's go.
It's a ticket for the championship.
I have to say, every time we play that introduction is sick.
So good, isn't it?
Props to Tim for that, because that is
Smashed
sick.
it.
You might have noticed that Tim obviously isn't with us today. We are just the two of us today from across the pond, so getting an outsider's look in on the NBA from all the way over here. I watch all the games in the morning. Yeah, the casuals.
Yeah,
apparently.
casuals. Yeah, it's fine.
So it has been a very, very busy trade deadline day. I don't know about you, but I'm shattered. I'm just glad that Goran Dragic is now out of my franchise. He is gone. I don't have to think about his stupid face ever again. So I'm happy.
Until the buyout. And he gets his contract bought out and then inevitably ends up back in Toronto.
It's not happening. It's not happening. No one wants him here. He
No,
scored 40 points for the Raptors in general. Gary Trent Jr. scored 42 last night.
Yeah, he was very good last night. I watched that.
He's just inadequate. Ever since he started off on the bad foot, saying that he didn't even want to be here. So, toodaloo, goodbye.
Fair enough.
Exactly. But we are not here to talk about Dragic. We're not here to talk about the Raptors until later. We're here to talk about trade deadline day and also the NBA All-Star game that's coming up. Mm-hmm. So we'll get into it. Obviously, the big news of the week is obviously Harden to Philly. Did you see it coming?
No, I didn't think they were gonna. There was always talk about it, but I didn't think they were gonna agree. Daryl Morey's a genius. He managed to get out of that without giving up Tyrese Maxey or Matisse Thybulle.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's given up Andre Drummond, who's a role player, Seth Curry, who's a role, like the second most valuable asset in that deal, apart from Simmons, is that first round pick from this year.
Yeah, and they've got the 2022 first round pick and also the 2027 first round pick. So they've got a good deal out of it. And obviously Harden, while he is obviously a class player, and the Nets have obviously broken up their trio of the best players in the world, apparently. Even when you've got a part-timer like Kyrie, and then you've got Kevin Durant, who is, obviously world-class. But Harden has obviously left that now. He's gone to Philly. How do you think he's going to do in Philly? Do you think he'll smash it as he does everywhere he goes?
Yeah, I think he'll be great. I think he's a great signing for Philadelphia, surrounded by Embiid. Embiid needs shooters. Absolutely. And the great thing about him being in Philly is obviously Harden's never really performed in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. But he doesn't have to be the crunch time player in Philly in the playoffs. That's Embiid's time. That's where he is. He's the number one player. Harden's the number two. And that will be an interesting dynamic because, well, even when he was on the net, I mean, they didn't really play enough games to sort of notice how the dynamic worked. Obviously, KD's the number one. And then it was just sort of which one of Kyrie or Harden put up a double-double alongside him.
Yeah.
But I think that's a great signing. Like the fact they've managed, they've still got Tobias Harris, they've still got Matisse Thybulle, they've got Danny Green, they've got Joel Embiid. Like that is a serious East contender.
It's a good one.
A serious championship contender now. And they had to do it now. Like Philly's window to win is now because Embiid is in his prime now. And you can't waste years of someone like who's playing at NBA MVP level like Embiid is. You just can't waste that. And they had to make the trade. And I don't know. I think the Sixers probably won this trade. Like this guy said, Curry and Drummond are role players. Harden's a superstar. You can replace role players. There'll be players in the buyout market that will put up games similar to sort of Seth Curry and Andre Drummond. There's no one in the buyout market or really hitting free agency in the next year that is going to match James Harden. And if it wins them a championship, then great. I mean, if they both crash out in the first round of the playoffs and Harden doesn't re-sign and Kyrie leaves in free agency, then it's completely different. But yeah, I think it's a good trade. And I'm really excited to see the Nets now as well. I mean, like Ben Simmons he's like the fifth choice scorer on that Nets team now. And it's just, I don't think that you could pair a better player with KD. He's just all action.
He brings a lot defensively to the game.
100%. And
he's not a good shooter
he
at
can play
all.
center. I imagine he'll play center. Like they don't need an outright centre, and you don't really need an outright centre if you've got Ben Simmons, because Simmons can guard 1 through 5, can guard LeBron and Giannis as well, which is really all you need. You just need your best defender to guard the other team's best player, and Philly obviously had Embiid, who's a good defender, but Simmons is a different level of defender, and he'll bring defense in spades to the Nets.
No, absolutely. I think obviously the Nets are on a 10-game loss streak at the minute, I believe. I think they haven't won in 10 games, which is not great. And obviously they've lost one of their star players now, so who knows where it goes from here. But Philly are flying. I mean, they're 32-22, 10 games over 500, just in front of ourselves as well. So, they're flying. And why not make a push? If you feel like you can really build that team around Embiid, and you fucking go for it. You take that chance. And like you said, if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. You cut your losses and then you bring in other players to build around it.
Yeah.
But
anyone playing for Philly is better than what Simmons was doing, because Simmons wasn't playing.
He wasn't doing anything.
Like, it didn't matter. Like,
that's exactly how I feel about Dragic. Like, yes, we brought in Thaddeus Young. When I first saw T. Young, I was just like,
what?
No. I was like, we have not got Trae Young.
Did you see the Toronto Blue Jays saying he was like the best T. Young in the league?
You know what?
I was like, wow, that's so pedantic.
The banter is amazing. But no, that's exactly how I feel about Dragic. Dragic wasn't doing anything. Yes, he brought experience, but he hasn't played in 2022 at all. He's not put up.
Is he not?
He's not put up any points. He's put up 40 in his whole Toronto Raptors career, and he wasn't doing anything. So yes, Thaddeus Young, I think he's obviously got a lot of experience. He's come in. He can really kind of coach the younger guys on our team, because that's exactly what we brought Dragic in for, is experience. But he fucked off, and he wasn't there to coach the younger guys like Scotty and like Delano Banton, Chris Boucher, like all the Gary Trent Jr. I keep forgetting how young Gary Trent Jr. is. He's only 23.
Yeah, he's probably young. He's my age.
Exactly. But
won't make you feel old there, I promise. But he's my age.
Yeah, I don't like that. No, stop that. But yeah, absolutely. I think it can only be a plus, and that is if he doesn't do what Dragic does and just fuck off and not play.
Yeah.
But he's put Raptors in his bio on Twitter, so that's more than what Dragic did. So
imagine both the Nets and the Sixers like crash out early doors, and then Harden doesn't re-sign. Harden goes and plays with Dame in Portland. Kyrie leaves in free agency, and then basically all the Nets have got. He's eligible now, isn't he? He's playing now, Kyrie, but he's playing 50% of games. Like, he can't play in some states.
Yeah, I think he can't play
in most of the West.
Yeah, he definitely can't play in Toronto.
I don't think he can play in LA. No, he can play in LA.
Yeah, I think it's only he's literally a part-timer, basically.
Yeah,
we'll have to get the actual stats, but it's either he can't play home games or he can't play away games. I can't remember which one it is.
It's probably away. That'll just be this season, though. Like, they won't drag that in next season. But if they don't win the championship this year, Kyrie won't stick around for I know it's not really a rebuild, but he won't stick around. He'll chase money.
Absolutely
like
not.
He has done his whole career. And then if the Nets are stuck with just a big two, Simmons and Durant, and they're over the luxury tax, you're like, oh great. So who's coming to play here? Yeah,
like that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. They're all
Griffin's contract. They've still got Griffin's contract, don't they?
Yes.
When's that up?
2024.
Yeah, next year.
I think.
I think it's next.
23.
Yeah, next free agency, and that's like 29 million, 32 million or something. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Absolutely. A few other trades that went on. Obviously, we've got the Mavs acquired Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans from the Wizards, who got Porzingis and a 2022 second-round pick.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good deal. I mean,
it's all right. It's kind of like one useless Latvian for another, but it's not too bad. Like, Kristaps doesn't play enough for him to be worth anything. Like, they had to build around Luka. They've got to build around Luka. Like, Luka's a generational star. Kristaps isn't a championship number two. He's not even a playoff number two, really. And he isn't fit often enough to really even challenge for that. Exactly. He's missed 21 games or something this year from injury alone.
Mm-hmm.
When he has played, he's looked okay, but he's not the caliber of Luka needs someone like a Kyrie Irving, someone to be his number two. And hopefully, Dinwiddie's not going to be that. Dinwiddie was really there to make the money work.
Yeah.
And then it was going to be interesting, sort of come this free agency and next free agency, what they do.
Ely says there as well, Porzingis needs to work on his fitness before he gets close to what we all saw from him before. I completely agree. And also we've got Andrew Williams that says howdy. So howdy very much. Also, bit of a sore one, Serge Ibaka.
Oh, big
We both
Serge.
love him. We
Big
both love him.
Love him
But he has gone to the Bucks in a crazy 14 trade involving the Clippers, Bucks, Pistons, and the Sacramento Kings. I'm not going to reel off every player that was traded because it's way too long. And just the main one really is Serge Ibaka goes to the Bucks. Big Serge. He's obviously got another opportunity now to challenge for a ring, to get another one. What do you think of him going to the Bucks?
I think it's obviously sad to see him go because he did okay for the Clippers, but we've got enough center cover in Isaiah Hartenstein there now as well. But yeah, him going to the Bucks is good. If we win our championship, great. I like Serge Ibaka. Plays really fun. He just looks like he's always sort of enjoying himself. He doesn't seem to ever struggle, and he's really had to drop. Like, he's been the senior man on that team a lot this season, playing with players like Terrence Mann and BJ Boston and stuff. So he's been really good. He's probably deserved his move to sort of challenge for a championship. He's in the sort of twilight of his career now. He needs to be challenging for his championships. Although I will say, Clippers now have, when Paul George and Kawhi are fit, that Clippers roster is ridiculous. It's building up for a trade. They're a trade or a free agency. There's too many like middling role players on that. BJ Boston's like our 14th man when Kawhi and PG are fit. So I feel like the Clippers are lining up to get a third star. And
do you think you can make the playoffs though? Because it's not going too well at the minute. Do you think it's going to be a next season thing?
Yeah. I don't think so. I don't think we'll push for the playoffs this year. I think it'll be a good chance for players like Norman Powell obviously coming in. You can get used to the franchise and style of play. That's a great signing. Great signing. Then you've got obviously BJ Boston, Terrence Mann. The young guys doing really well and just sort of enjoying themselves. I mean, they played well last night, sort of 3 quarters, and then just the experience of the Mavs blew them away. But no, I think it's a next season thing. I think it's a case of Kawhi getting his boys round and just sort of making sure that team's going to be ready for him returning. Although he did travel last night, I don't think he'll play this season. And I think Paul George, he travelled. He was with the team. He was sat on the bit. It's quite sad. I was like, no, just come back, be healthy. Because if we were in the playoffs and miraculously within like a couple of weeks of being in the playoffs, or like that little gap at the end of the season, if Paul George and Kawhi were to come back in that gap, like I'd back us to go really far in the playoffs with that deep roster, and then you get 2 superstars back. But it's highly unlikely. It's building for next year. But just with we've got Rodney Hood now, Semi Ojeleye, Norman Powell, obviously Isaiah Hartenstein that I mentioned before, still got Reggie Jackson. There's just a lot of middling sort of 7 to 15 to $18 million contracts there now. Yeah. And it just seems like it's stockpiling assets. Clippers don't have picks, so they need players to make trades work because they traded their future for Paul George. But no, I hope Serge wins the chip. It'd be great. Just for him more so than for the Bucks.
I don't mind the Bucks. The Bucks are I like Giannis quite a lot.
Giannis is great, but I'd quite like to see. I don't know. I would quite like to see the Nets win it. I'd like to see Ben Simmons be justified. I like Ben Simmons.
I don't.
I think he's a bit of an idiot. But I'd also like to see the Sixers would be cool as well because if Embiid won it, I think Embiid will be MVP this year. So if he got MVP and then got like Finals MVP as well, that would be pretty cool. I don't know. I think the winner's coming out of the East this year, not the West.
I can't really call the East this year. It's been very up and down. Like
the 2 top teams were didn't really have that top 10 or top 5 or top 10 superstar. Like the Bulls and the Heat when they were the top 2.
I think I've got to back the Heat this year. I think the Heat look very, very strong. They've kind of snuck up on everyone. Like they were kind of middle of the ground, and then they've really snuck up on people. I mean, obviously we beat them twice, but doesn't matter.
I don't think the Clippers beat them this season. I'm pretty sure we got smashed twice. And Duncan Robinson put up like 28 or something. I was like, he's literally just a spot up shooter. Yeah, like that's all he is, and he put up 28. I was like, well, what are you going to do? But no, I think the winner will come at the East this year. I think the West is strong, but I just think, especially with that trade, I think the
definitely.
East is probably.
Andrew says the Lakers moving anyone in or out. I think I saw that they moved out Rondo, didn't they? To the Cavs, I believe.
Yeah. I think they did, but
But they didn't bring anyone in.
No, and and we said last night, obviously in the group chat, talking about sort of trades and things that were going to happen, because it's great. Like, trade deadline works brilliantly over here. I mean, it finishes like
11 o'clock. It's great.
It's great, fantastic. And yeah, it was just the Lakers were too proud to admit that they got the Westbrook thing wrong, and the only way they could trade Westbrook was for John Wall, and that's not really a great upgrade. So, and Westbrook's opting in the summer. There's, without a doubt, he's not opting into $44 million for a year. So maybe they trade for John Wall in the summer, but like the Lakers are stuck otherwise. Like, there's nothing they can do. And they've got to hope that veterans come out on the buyout.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, this season Lakers are doing zero, not really worth it. Yeah, I completely agree. And Andrew also says Golden State Warriors is going to be dangerous, which they are. I mean, they've smashed it this year. Obviously, Curry went through that, dry spell, as people like to call it, but he was still, he just wasn't his usual Steph Curry self, but he was still like a solid, an average player. He was fantastic. But Steph Curry, the real Steph Curry that we know, is apparently back. Westbrook is such a clown.
Yes, he is.
And Anthony Davis hasn't been great either. But he's been injured.
A lot of injuries for Lakers this year. Like
a lot of injuries
LA
and
teams in general.
And
it seems like LeBron plays like 3 games and then goes out for 4, and like that seems to happen with Davis a lot as well. It just seems a lot of the time it's Westbrook that's fit, and that might be one of the issues as well. But no, I think Golden State will always be good, and they've got Clay back. Like, that's so fun. That was so good to watch. We've not done a show since he came back, and the way they did the big intro. I don't know if you've seen it. Like, they announced his name. They showed like the clip in the stadium, like all the clips like put together of his like best moments and stuff.
Oh,
and he got like the big announcement and got announced on his own.
How long was he out for? He was out for a good while, wasn't he?
Let me see. It's a long time. It was over 2 years, I think.
Yeah, it was a very long time. But also one more trade. A few other trades that I want to talk about is Halliburton to the Pacers and Sabonis to the Kings.
I don't know what the Kings are doing. He missed 941 days, Klay Thompson. Wow. For nearly 3 years.
Wow.
Crazy. Wow. I don't know what the Kings are doing.
I don't know what Portland are doing. I don't know what Indiana are doing. I genuinely, there's been so many mad trades that you think, wait, why? But why?
Indiana have won that trade hands down. Like, Sabonis is great. Like, he's a really good player. You could maybe argue that he's a little bit empty stat-like in terms that he doesn't really take over in crunch time and things like that. But he's a great player. But to give up Tyrese Halliburton is crazy. Like, you think they'd give up De'Aaron Fox before him? Because Halliburton was like,
I could name a few players on one hand that you'd give up before Tyrese Halliburton.
Yeah, it was just, I couldn't believe it. I read it and I was like, Halliburton. And he finally got his move out of Sacramento. I mean, I don't think he wanted to go to Indiana, but
anyway, better. Better than the Kings class.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously CJ McCollum went from Portland to the Pelicans. What we thinking about that? I mean, CJ McCollum's a great player. Great player. I think that's a really good trade.
It's really good. It shows the intent from the Pelicans as well. Like, they're determined not to lose Zion. Because there's real talk about Zion not signing his rookie extension. And if he didn't sign his rookie extension, he'd be the first one ever to do that. The first player ever to not sign a rookie extension, to stay with the team and to enter. Basically, they would enter restricted free agency and then sign a 1 year, and then they'd be unrestricted free agent 3 years into the league or 4 years into the league, which is crazy. So they've got to make moves. And Brandon Ingram's played brilliantly this year as well. So I think Brandon Ingram paired him with CJ McCollum, and then you get Zion back, fit, healthy, proper like college basketball Zion. It's a really good team, and it's good fun for the Pels. And they didn't really give up a lot, like what Josh Hart and Nikhil Alexander-Walker. It's not bad at all. And like you say, CJ McCollum's excellent, and Portland blowing it up.
Absolutely. And Karis LeVert from the Pacers to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Karis LeVert is I really like him. I really like him. I know
Yeah,
there's a
he's
lot of strong
fantastic.
opinions on him, but I really like him. I think he's excellent. What do you think about that trade?
I like it for the Cavs. Cavs have been
Yeah,
really good this year.
they've been class.
I really enjoyed watching them this year.
Hmm. They're obviously third in the East, which
Yeah,
is
the third, aren't they? I was going to say,
yeah.
I think they're in the mid. Yeah, they are third in the East, which if you'd offered them that at the start of the season, ridiculous. They'd have taken
Mm-hmm.
that so far. But Karis LeVert's really good in there. I'd probably come in and probably play small forwards because you don't want to split up Garland and Sexton as sort of like your guard partnership. But I'm not sure. I'm really happy that Karis LeVert gets to play in a good team again. Because Indiana were awful this year. Really not good.
We've got Trev in the house who says, "Evening, guys. We just want to say that LeBron is the GOAT." And Rachel, great to see your face on our screen again. It's been too long. It has been a long time. We took a little bit of a break. We did, but we're trying to get back into it. You know, we've all got very busy lives. It's hard to commit, but obviously Tim is usually with us, but he's got prior commitments today that he needs to sort out. So you've just got us two at the minute, us foreigners talking about the native sport.
Yeah, exactly. That's casuals.
Speaking of LeBron, I wanted to go on to the All-Star game. Obviously, we have got Team LeBron and we've got Team KD.
Yeah.
I'll quickly run through the teams for you, just in case you haven't seen, because obviously the draft was last night.
Yeah.
On Team LeBron, we have got Giannis, Steph Curry, DeMar DeRozan, LeBron James, and Nikola Jokic as the starters. And then in reserves, we've got Jimmy Butler, Luka Doncic, Darius Garland, James Harden, Donovan Mitchell, Chris Paul, and Fred VanVleet. And on Team Durant, we have got KD, Joel Embiid, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Andrew Wiggins, Trae Young. And in the reserves, we've got LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, Rudy Gobert, Zach LaVine, Chris Middleton, DeJounte Murray, Karl Anthony Towns, and Draymond Green. But obviously, Draymond is injured, and also KD is injured as well in that team. But, I mean, those are two very, very strong teams.
They are. I like how KD avoided picking Harden at all costs, even though he's not going to play in the game. He's just like, I'm not having him on my team.
I was looking at the order in which
Harden went last.
Harden was like LeBron
he picked Rudy Gobert and Chris Middleton over him, and I'm like, that's like MVP. He's an MVP in the league.
I was looking at it, and I was like, did Harden actually go last? Like,
yeah, it was really awkward. Like,
yeah, so bad.
Very, very funny.
I was even shocked that he picked Fred VanVleet before Harden. I mean, I would pick Fred VanVleet in a heartbeat. Like, I think it's absolutely justified. But I know there's been a lot of talk on Twitter, especially about how he's an average player in an average team. Blah blah blah. I'm not going to get into it because I will get mad. But yeah, I was shocked that he picked Freddie over Harden. I mean, you've got to try and put it aside, haven't you? And you've got to think.
And probably shows you that it was more than just sort of like a team fit sort of thing. There was quite clearly something personal there that something wasn't clicking, and KD's maybe had a word to the Nets chairman and been like, "Nah, get rid. If we can get Ben Simmons, get him in, but we need rid of Harden." But yeah, it was really, really awkward and very funny to watch. Just KD's LeBron was like creasing at the fact when he was like, "Yeah."
Rudy Gobert. There's no Rudy Gobert disrespect from here. He's
a great defender. He's one of the few people that gets into the All-Star game from sort of defense only, and it's because he's
limited.
A defender.
Limited, Andrew.
Oh, he's not limited.
He's not limited. This disrespect needs to stop. But I'm going to make a whole show. I'm going to make a whole show about Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam next week because that's my guys, and I can talk about them for hours and hours and hours. But today we'll talk about the All-Star.
I fell out with some Raptors fans last week on Twitter. Did you see them all having a go at me about my idea for a trade to get Miles Turner? For
OG, yeah.
And whoa, I was like,
we love OG. All right, we love OG, and especially being British as well. He's like, I love him. I don't want to give him up, but
he's fine, and you're not going to pay him a max next year, are you? So like, why not get rid and get Miles Turner, who's a better defender, I think, as an actual center, gives like genuinely good spacing, especially for Freddie, and Scotty as well. Like, I think on the scoring side of the ball, Scotty does everything that OG does, and on the defensive side of the ball, you get pretty much the same, if not better, at Miles Turner. He's on a friendlier contract as well. And they were a selling team. You could have got him. So I don't know.
I think
it'll be interesting to see who wants to pay Anunoby a max or close to that, because I don't know. He would need to take a jump again. He's obviously taken a jump in the last sort of 18 months, 2 years.
Yeah.
He's taken a jump, but you need to take another jump to sort of be worth the money that was being bandied about.
Yeah, no, completely. I just think he still needs time. I think he's class, but he's not putting up the numbers week in, week out to kind of, back it up, but he's always there in the starting lineup and he always does his job correctly. So
he's never at fault. He's just not excellent. He's never at fault for, like, if he lose a game, it's not like, well, it's because OG was awful. Like, he's just not. I just don't think he's an excellent player. I think if I was in that position and Miles Turner was on the table, in terms of an elite defender, gives you space in as well, can guard the league's best players, which I don't think Toronto have just now. Don't think they've got a player that I'd be quite happy to put on Giannis in a 7-game series.
We had Scotty Barnes on Giannis last time. And he was on KD as well. So he can really, like, hold his own.
He can, but I don't know if you want that in playoff, because obviously playoff basketball is completely different to sort of regulation. So I don't know if you want that over 7 games in a crunch time against someone like Giannis, because we saw what Giannis does when he gets into the mood during playoff. We saw it last year.
He turns into a monster. Yeah.
He does. He's ridiculous. So I just thought it'd be a good trade. But yeah, I've made one suggestion, and a lot of people weren't happy with my suggestion. I was like, okay, then I'll stay away from Raptors.
The thing about Twitter is, you know it from United Twitter, and I know it from NBA Twitter. People if you disrespect their favorite player, they get aggy about it, and they kind of lose their shit. But
I feel like NBA Twitter is more constructive, though. Football Twitter is just abuse. I don't talk about Man United a lot on Twitter. Whereas I'll talk about basketball, but just the amount of people that were like, "No," I was like, "Okay, sorry."
Step back.
Come out of that. I'm not going to die on that hill. It's fine.
Step back. I had someone called Gary Trent Jr. an average mediocre player, and I was like,
I saw that. Yeah.
I went off. I was just like, no. I was like, no, don't fucking start. But no, we'll move on, because we are talking about All-Stars, even though we keep getting sidetracked into regulation. So Team LeBron against Team Durant. Who are you picking to come out on top?
Team LeBron, probably. Like, they've got Luka coming off the bench. Like, it's just a ridiculous team. Yeah. I think Team LeBron will probably edge it. Although it's not really about sort of who wins. It's sort of good fun to watch players of that quality playing against each other and playing with each other.
Really?
It's always good. I would probably back up Team LeBron though, over, even though KD has elite defense. I don't think. I think it'll still be LeBron. Yeah,
I think Bron's going to come out on top this year. I mean, just looking at the reserves, Jimmy Butler, he's having a great season.
Yes.
You've got Darius Garland, obviously James Harden, Chris Paul, and Fred VanVleet, who can just knock down threes at will, it seems. He's also taken part in the free-throw competition. So, that's looking at it, there's no weak link there.
No.
There's absolutely no weak link there at all.
No.
And obviously looking at Team Durant, Joel Embiid, Ja Morant, Jason Tatum, Andrew Wiggins, and Trae Young. I mean, you know how I feel about Trae Young. I think he's class. He gets a lot of hate for just being good. But the reserves, LaMelo Ball, Devin Booker, my feelings on him as well after the whole Raptors situation. Zach LaVine, Chris Middleton is obviously class. DeJounte Murray, Karl Anthony Towns, and Draymond Green, who is injured.
Yes.
I mean, I'm looking at it in a matching up kind of way. I don't think there's any competition. I think Bron's got this.
Yeah, I think especially with Andrew Wiggins being in it. Like, I'm no hate on Wiggins, but he's not of that level. And I think him being in it was okay. He's been good, but I think there was 2 massive snubs.
Go on. Who was your pick on snub? Because I was going to come to that next. So
Jarrett Allen Like, how can he not? What else can he do? It was
I
like
was gonna
six.
go.
I think he's averaging 16 points with 11 rebounds, 1.4 blocks, and shooting 67.8% from the field. He's also the Cavs are 4.9 points per 100 possessions better when he's starting than when he's on the bench. Like when he's playing than when he's on the bench. Like, and he's playing for the third seed in the East, and it's a Cavs team that no one expected to be there. I was like, how is he not there? He's been so good. And the other one in terms of guards, like it shouldn't have been Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton's not really a guard, down as a forward, but the other Bucks player should have been Drew Holiday. It shouldn't have been Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton's fine, but Drew Holiday's been really good. Like he's nearly averaging 50. I think he is averaging 50% from the field.
Yeah, he is,
and 40% from three for a Bucks team that's defending its title, or will be defending its title come playoff time. I think he's been really good. I think he's been a much higher level player than Chris Middleton. So I think if they were so keen to get two Bucks players in, it shouldn't have been Chris Middleton just based, because I feel like they picked Chris Middleton based on sort of the overall quality of him and the fact he's a prior All-Star and things like that. And I just think Drew Holiday's been much better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. My snubs, I was going to say Allen as well, but you know it's coming. It's Pascal Siakam. I mean, I have to get a little bit of propaganda in there somewhere.
Okay.
He has had 3 double-doubles in his past 5 games.
Yeah.
He has been absolutely class for us. I'm just getting, if my phone would load, which would be great. Since he's come back and been fully healthy, we have been on this massive run. So the first part of the season where he was injured and we were really, really struggling, you know, he's just come back and he's absolutely smashed it. So he is averaging at 21.8 points per game, rebounds 8.7, and he's just been class. And he's been. I just don't understand the disrespect. The disrespect is just so loud. But go on, tell me I'm wrong.
No, I just think there's a little bit of bias there. Not a lot. He has been really good, but like these aren't. I don't know. Bear in mind, like when this ballot went out, you were a below 500 team because it was before this 12, 11 game run that you're on. So you're a below 500 team. Freddie was always going to be, or I thought he was sort of always going to be the All-Star if you were to get one. And yeah, I just didn't. I think if maybe the ballot was done now, for a game in 6 weeks' time, then maybe you would get in. But I just don't think the below 500 team is going to get 2 in. And I think because Freddie was so outstanding for you that first part of the season, that it was never going to go to Pascal as well. And I don't think that. And I think there's also a lot put on the All-Star game of players that look pretty almost when they play, and Pascal certainly doesn't look pretty when he plays. He does the hard stuff and does.
I just love him. He just gets in there and he does not care.
Does everything at a million miles an hour. He just does everything at a million miles an hour, and I feel like the All-Star game, especially the last couple of years, has been very like showy,
very commercial.
Yeah, exactly. And they want people like Steph Curry and Trae Young having like a 3-point off from like half court. And I don't think they want Pascal Siakam running around flailing his limbs and smashing 8 of the All-Stars in the face, and suddenly everyone's injured because of Pascal Siakam.
He's a big guy. He's a big lad.
He is.
He puts his absolute all out there, and I fucking love him.
Well, you gotta love it. Definitely. And I will say, if Paul George didn't get injured, he would have 1,000,000% been an All-Star starter. That start of the season, like he literally carried us. He was like 28 points.
Yeah, he was class.
7 assists, 4 rebounds as well. And his turnovers were really low as well for Paul George. Like if he'd stayed healthy, all we needed him to do was not tear his metatarsal in his arm. And he would have been a starter. But c'est la vie.
It's all ifs and buts though, isn't it?
Exactly. It's fine. Kawhi will be back next year. He'll win MVP. He'll be fine.
Yeah, sure. I agree. And then he comes back to Toronto and,
he's never moving anywhere again. He's never moving anywhere again. He's quite happy. He doesn't need to win because he's won. He
doesn't need to win. That's why he went to...
Pretty much. He just wants to enjoy where he lives and he runs the team. He's from LA, so he just runs the team. He's like, this is my team. This is who I want.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Got Norman Powell. He's like, come on then. You come with me.
You're just trying to recreate our 2019 team, aren't you? That's all you're doing.
If it works, I couldn't care less. If it ends the championship next year, great. I don't care.
Wrapping it up, because we have been chatting for 35 minutes now. Who do you think has been like the biggest winners of the trade deadline, and who's like lost out on the most?
That's hard. I think maybe the biggest losers are the Trailblazers or the Kings. But I think the Trailblazers, because the reason I was over me, you and Tim having a conversation, like, it's great that Portland have 60 million in cap. Who's going to go to Portland?
Yeah,
like,
when you've got nothing to.
Yeah, but you don't get elite. You just don't get elite level free agents going to smaller market teams. It just doesn't happen. They go to the big market teams, and that's for a multitude of reasons. So I don't think it greatly matters that Portland have 60 million in cap, because it's not going to be a Bradley Beal. It's not going to be an elite level, another elite level player. So maybe them, and I think maybe the Kings for giving up Halliburton and Hield for Sabonis is mental. And if they make the playoffs, if we're sat here and they're like we sat here in sort of a few months' time and they're either in the playing game or they are in the playoffs, and then maybe there's a big celebration sort of in the Kings office. Like, yes, we did it. We're in the playoffs. Like, maybe that's their goal. Short term, that's great, but Halliburton they could have really built around. In terms of winners, probably the 76ers. Like, and that's great. Like, Daryl Morey's a genius. I don't know how he's managed that. To get a superstar like Harden for a player like Simmons who wasn't playing, who does have potential to be at that highest level, like he does. He is an all-star. He's definitely Defensive Player of the Year worthy when he's at his best. And
when he's actually playing.
Yeah, exactly. And to get him for Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 picks is just brilliant. But again, if you're the Nets, they gave up everything to get Harden. Everything. Yeah. And now they don't have anything, and they don't even have Harden. They've just got to hope Ben Simmons hits. But yeah, I'll say the 76ers is the winners, and I'll go with the Kings probably as the biggest losers.
I was going to say the Nets as well. The Nets are kind of the losers because, like you said, they've literally lost their big hitter, their big man. Like you said, they risked a lot for Harden. I mean, Harden is now moved, what is it, 3 in 3 years?
Yeah.
He's moved. So, if I was Philly, I wouldn't fucking trust him as far as I could throw him. And he's a big lad. Can't throw him very far. So definitely wouldn't trust him. But, if it works out for Philly and they make a push, because obviously they're 5th, they're in the playoffs at the minute. Yeah. If they make a push and they win the chip, then fucking that's fine. And if Harden still wants to leave and go somewhere else, like Bucks or Lakers or something else, then I mean, Philly have won, in my opinion.
Harden on the Bucks, I couldn't think of a worse team for him to go to. He's so ball dominant. Imagine trying to be ball dominant against Giannis.
You'd be fighting over it, like just between the team.
That'd be horrible.
It would. But
I think you're right. Philly definitely. The Nets have given up a lot. I really have, and it needs to work this year. But Kyrie will walk because Kyrie's a dick. So,
otherwise, Jazz Harden.
Jazz Harden.
He is. Right. We'll leave it there. We've been chatting for quite a while now. We're going to be back. Is it next week at the same time? Same time, same place. We're going to be chatting. More NBA. We'll probably. When is the All-Star game? It's Sunday, isn't it?
Sunday, yeah.
Sunday. Yep. So we'll be chatting. The results of the All-Star game, who shone, who flopped, all the other games as well. So the skills game, the dunk contest, the
Luke Kennard 3-point contest winner. Here we go.
Fred VanVleet repping it right now.
Is he in it? No, I wanted it to be Luke Kennard. I don't even know how he's there. He was so bad. He was so awful for us last year. Luke Kennard, not Freddie. Like, Luke Kennard was awful for the Clippers last year.
That was mad.
And he's just come in. He's just like, I'm just elite from 3. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Crack on. That's fine.
Off you go. But yeah, we'll be chatting All-Star games. We'll also be chatting some of the NBA, see if people have moved up or down, and any big news that comes out in the week, which I'm hoping. You never know. But anyway, we'll leave it there, guys. Appreciate all the support and all the comments as well. It's been great chatting to you, Greg. I'll speak to you guys later. Adios.